Welcome to another DomJake podcast episode. My name is the luxurious, jovial host named Jake.
And my name is the wonderful, spectacular Dominic.
Oh, I like what you did there. You're trying to one-up me. Now, I am 100% certain that both of us have seen at least one cooking show or viral video based on the topic of food. Whether it be food eating or making, there's a lot of content out there. Wouldn't you agree, Dom?
Oh, couldn't agree more. Definitely a whole lot of cooking content out there for all the grandmas, the toddlers, just all the ages out there.
For as Lego would say, from ages 9 to 99, right?
Yep, you know.
Because if you're 8 or below, you will not understand the process of cooking.
Or what Fisher Price is, 18 months and up. I mean, if you're under 18 months, of course you're not going to understand.
Hey, maybe there's like a baby savant out there who's like cooking up some nice Cheerios and milk or something, right?
Yeah, or if you're one of those, you got the easy bake oven.
And you're slamming your fingers.
Oh yeah, definitely that.
But all that joking aside, today we will be discussing the benefits and drawbacks to those shows and or content. So, similarly to the social media episode where we discussed the benefits and drawbacks, we'll be doing the same exact thing here, but this time with food content, whether it's a show, whether it's a stream, whether it's a whatever, right?
Yeah.
Starting off, I would like to talk about the positive side of food content. And what better way than to ask you, Dom, what do you like about food-oriented content?
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, it definitely gives you inspiration to make your own, like food, or even better yet, put your own spin on it. As you know, in the past, we've done our own takes on certain products, but I don't know, it just expands your creativity in the kitchen depending on how you look at it. I mean,
Nice.
if you're if you're those who are like health conscious, you can watch one of those like health like food content and see what could you do with your diet. Or if you're just on a if you're just chilling out on the holidays, you can make a nice like Christmas muffins, or it just gives you like more options of what to make at home instead of the same thing every day.
Yeah, honestly. I couldn't have said a lot of that better myself, right? Just in keeping on theme with the things that you said, right? Number one, because I kind of wrote a um, little list of different pros. Um, so you did say inspiration was a big one that you agree with.
Yep.
Um, it basically helps people gain ideas and inspires people, with new recipes and even learning techniques, right? There have been loads of shows where it's like, huh, I did not think about doing it this way. Whether it's online content, whether it's a TV show, like I said, does not matter. From this point forward, I will just be talking about it. I'll just be referring to it as content because at the end of the day, whatever screen you use, it's still content. Um, but there is that entertainment factor that you were saying, because some of it you can find joy and relaxation in just watching visually appealing things, right? Well produced
Hmm.
content. It's pretty amazing when it comes to that. You also brushed up upon motivation, right? Where some people just feel motivated to start doing something and trying out new dishes. Yeah. Um,
Yep.
Virtually, there's a lot of benefits. Um, you shared a good, decent bit of them, right? But I'm gonna get into the other benefits that I had thought of that you didn't exactly. Well, you didn't. It's not that you didn't say them; it's that you didn't like specifically say these things, right? So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because you did kind of brush into some of these, but you didn't like 100% go into it because you only said like 5 sentences. Yeah. Um, but there's certainly a learning factor where you can learn different skills and knowledge from professional chefs or home cooks. Honestly, you could even learn what not to do in terms of, worst cooks, right? That's a show, right? Worst cooks in
I've seen,
America.
I've watched a bit of that not long ago.
And you can learn how to blend in to a kitchen when it comes to something like cooks versus cons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Man versus food. That
that,
guy's just.
that counts too, right? Men
I
versus
mean,
food, something that I like that they do is do um, they do kind of do food trends in a way, right? Because some restaurants are like, eat this big thing in this time period. Some people, some restaurants do oh, these are,
like.
this isn't too big, but it is very spicy, for example, or this is very sour, right? An extreme to the sense. That's what some restaurants do, and the shows that go there like to showcase them. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a valuable thing to one's community as well, because, you know, this random town in the middle of, who knows, Missouri might not get a lot of traction, but just because one show is filmed there, suddenly the middle of Missouri is flooding with tourism. It's tourists are both good and bad to a community. I'm not here to dive into tourism. That could be a separate thing. But
Yep.
on the positive end of tourism, that's definitely something that food shows tend to
Hmm.
do.
Kitchen nightmares that did that as really gain attraction to these other local businesses.
It does, and sometimes for the wrong reasons.
There's one restaurant that has. I mean, it's pretty notorious, but it really did get some attraction from that show.
Yeah. Uh, and
And
then
think of the
Amy,
alphabet.
it's Amy's bacon company, right? Like Amy,
Yep,
right? Yeah.
yep,
Hey,
yep.
they already have a lot of traction. We don't need to censor them out because they're already notorious, right?
Already, yep.
But some other sort of thing that happens is the exploration of different cultures, right? Um, like for example, although I kind of disagree with what the show is called, it's still a it still has a good message though. But Bizarre Foods with Andrew Zimmern, right? That's something
Hmm.
essentially where a host goes around the world or around the country, whatever, and just eats things that most people, or at least most people in a United States Western civilization mindset, just will not bother with.
Of course, because what we're used to, because to them, maybe burgers and fries might be like, oh my god, you people eat that?
Well, that's probably the opposite end of the spectrum. I mean, like going in the middle of, I don't know, in the middle of Africa and eating a squirrel, right? And squirrel is not exactly something that a lot of people in America would gravitate towards. Um,
Hmm.
let's say you go to Japan and you're served natto, right? That's a
Yeah.
that's fermented soy where it's very how do I say this? It's an acquired taste where
Cause yeah,
half of the population is like, this is literally garbage. Why would you put this on my plate? Even in Japan, right?
well, cause
It's a stigmatizing taste.
like okay, to us that sounds bad, but to them that's probably normal.
It is more of a normal thing, right? Um, but a good value that these shows have is that they explore the different cultures and will be like, oh, this tribe in the middle of, I don't know, in the middle of Brazil, right? There might be like a rainforest tribe that might be down there. I am I am not certain. There probably is though, but um, they might have bugs all the time. Bugs, bugs, bugs. That's
Mm-hmm.
their whole meal, right? You might be
Yeah.
sitting here thinking, what the heck? Why would you choose to do that when you have a river right there filled with fish? Well, they are high in protein. They are probably delicious. I have never had a bug. I can't really make that comparison.
I did. I have like years ago tried a like cricket.
Yeah, you've had more bugs than I have, I guess then.
It was like salt and vinegar flavored too.
On a similar note, there is that sense of virtual travel, right? In the shows where it's like, okay, today I am in the middle of Ontario, right? I am exploring this thing. Well, the person who's sitting at home watching these shows or this food content, they'll be able to basically say that, oh yeah, that scenery looks cool. It's like you're going to these places, even though you're, physically at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get to experience the flavors of different regions without even leaving. And sometimes it might even inspire someone to travel somewhere. That's not my entire reason of wanting to go overseas to Japan. But I will be honest, the culinary
I mean,
scene looks fire to me.
I mean, I no, I do want to go to the Disney store in Japan, but that's a whole different topic.
The Di- oh, you said the Disney store in Epcot?
What? Sure.
Are you
Yeah.
saying the fake Japan?
Not no real Japan.
Yeah, real Japan. I want to go there because it's real. Not to say that Epcot Disney does badly. It's just a select part of Japan. I want to go like experience everything, man. I want to go to Hokkaido, and I
Like
also want to go
real.
to Nagano, right? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, so to kind of give a little rapid fire of the rest of them, um, bear with me here. I'll be
Mm-hmm.
reading a lot, especially after the episode that was called "Shut Up." Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not shutting up.
All right. All right.
Food content also gives a sensory pleasure to a viewer. A viewer might enjoy the visual and auditory aspects of cooking, including the sizzling sounds and maybe looking at the vibrant colors of the plating. There's the community connection, which kind of ties into the virtual travel in a way, and also kind of um, ties into the cultural exploration. But the community connection kind of lets you join a community of food enthusiasts who share similar interests. So for example, you might find your group of wing enjoyers, and you go to every single wing place in the world because you are friends with a lot of these wing enjoyers, right? Who won't mind paying. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's a sense of stress relief with some people. Some people use cooking shows as a form of relaxation and stress relief. Some people use it as background noise, where they might just have cooking content as a pleasant background noise while doing other activities, whether it's cooking themselves or whether it's, I don't know, just
You
doing their
actually want to
taxes,
watch,
right? Some people
or
don't watch them, they just put it on for the noise, right?
Yep, there's those who do that, but then otherwise, if these people that are making the show knew that's all they're new keeping them on for, then of course they're not going to be able to make the show much longer.
I don't think that's the case though, because all they care about is the views. Doesn't matter if you leave the TV on, the station's still going to be like, oh, the TV is on, but it's on
Hmm.
this channel, that it's on this show. I
Hmm.
don't think they're going to just say, oh, well, people are putting it on in the background. That means no more. There's a whole market in just, you know, putting, let's say, let's say putting a different audio track, listening to who knows, two friends who knew each other for I don't know, maybe a
Dude.
decade at this point, talking about various different things. In the case of I don't know, their
Yeah,
34th episode might be titled for Flavorful Perspectives, for example. I
yeah,
mean, there's a whole like oh,
market.
what's it called? There's a whole thing that's called podcasts where that's exactly that. People can put on an audio in the background of doing whatever else they're going to do.
As long as they're as long as they're at least listening to it.
As long as it's on, that's what the network cares about. And they'll
Hmm.
still greenlight it if no one's quote unquote watching it. They don't care.
Hmm.
Of course, network executives then could step in and be like, well, I don't like the show, so I'm pulling the plug, even though, like, you know, billions of people actually like it. Doesn't matter to them because, well, they don't like it. That's a different
Yeah,
story. We don't need to get into the politics of Hollywood. Maybe Mr. Hollywood would get into that with people. Um,
maybe. Yeah,
I
he's the only
doubt it,
one.
though.
I mean, he's in charge of it, but who knows?
I mean, he's like a lax guy, though. He's he hired two random people who know nothing about anything in Hollywood to decide if people get to keep their stars or not. That's he's a silly Billy. Let's just say that.
Yes.
Oh, but Mr. Hollywood, if you're listening to this, please don't kill us, right? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I don't.
Um, sometimes it also helps with meal planning, right? You might see some content and be like, oh, I have those ingredients. I never thought of doing it this way. Let's do it this way. Let's do this.
Or if you're like, oh, if you don't have them, it's like, oh, let me go to the grocery store really quick and I'll be back.
Right. Sometimes it does motivate people to go out to their maybe import shop too. And maybe it's not just their local run of the mill chain store.
But just your run of the mill chain grocery store, it could just be, or it could even be a farmer's market.
Yeah, I'm saying like people might not even might not have even heard of these different farmers markets or different import stores where they could get straight from the source pretty much, right?
Mm,
Maybe they
yes.
maybe they're trying a an Asian dumpling, but they only have all purpose at home. So maybe they
Maybe.
go to, the import store where they can get what would be used over there, right?
Yeah. Yes, and I do have a local farm place that's not far from me. So like that's an example of where I could get even just fresh stuff.
Fresh
But
stuff, sure, yeah.
mhm,
It helps people, explore their own area as well, right? Um,
mhm,
there is all I love how I said I'd do this in a rapid fire, and we're still sitting on this. There is a sense of storytelling with a lot of shows. Um, Top Chef, that's one of those things where it's like, oh well, you got to impress me with this thing, or else you, and they probably say this in the show, but obviously not in real life, but or else we will kill you or put you in a dungeon or something, right? Like, there's a sense of storytelling. People enjoy the storytelling aspects of some cooking shows that dive into personal or cultural narratives as well. I was kind of putting it in a line of fictitious storytelling where it's like, oh, well, this is exaggerated for TV or whatever, but there's also the sense of maybe someone does want to read about your great Aunt Nancy who first showed you this banana bread in 1984 or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe people want to see that storytelling. Um, there's the creativity boost, right? People can be inspired to be more creative in the kitchen by watching innovative cooking techniques. This could be with equipment. This could be with using an ingredient in a dish that you never would have thought of. Um, Sometimes people like the nostalgia factor. You kind of dive into that a little bit, but they get to experience a sense of nostalgia by revisiting classic recipes or cooking styles that might be explored on this week's episode of Cooking, whatever the heck it is.
Sure.
And another one is aspirational living. Some people admire luxurious kitchens, ingredients, and lifestyles showcased in some cooking shows. That's why some people might look at, you know, a, a houses.com, right? Like apartments or whatever, right? They'll look at that even though they have their place already, just because they like looking at how other people live, right? A lot of the time, the house tours, right? Whenever celebrities team up with, I think, Vanity Fair, and they're like, "Oh, come with me inside my mansion. Let me show you every single room, what I do in every single room." Right?
Mm-hmm.
Those episodes or videos, I should say, have millions of views just because people want to see what's inside.
Yeah.
There is that social connection. People can share favorite recipes and episodes with friends and family, fostering a sense of connection with, people all around you or people that you don't even know, right? Um, Eating shows for comfort. So some people find comfort in watching eating shows, which can invoke feelings of warmth and coziness because maybe you're sharing a meal with that celebrity. It sounds sad, but you know what? It doesn't have to be. Um, there's the virtual food experience where you can indulge in a virtual food experience by watching others enjoy and describe various dishes. There's, you know, there's the background noise. I think I wrote that twice.
Oh, yes. There's also people that just do food reviews.
There are the
Like,
people who do food reviews, and all of those, unless if you could think of more, which obviously feel free to share those. If you can think of more like pros of cooking content in general, um, those are very good things in
well,
that type of
yeah.
content.
Hey, if you look at a certain recipe this way, it's like, oh, you don't have to buy the mix for it. You can just make it from scratch.
Right, and if you have, all the flours, all the yeasts that you need, you don't technically need to go to Baboli ever again.
Yeah.
Not to say
Or
that, not
you
to
don't
say that Baboli is bad, because we have to say that they're okay because they might sponsor us. Baboli, we will switch to Baboli forever if you sponsor us.
mm-hmm. But
But yeah, go ahead.
yep. Don't need any we don't need Betty Crocker's help if we can make it, but who knows if Betty Crocker will come at us if we say we don't need her help.
Lovely.
Or anyways, um what else do you got on the table?
These reasons, I love that you said table because these reasons help show the diverse and appeal of food related content for different individuals. But of course, with every rose, there is a thorn. You may or may not know
Yes.
that. The cons of food shows.
Hmm. I don't. Okay. I mean, unless. Okay, this could be. Like, I guess one con is okay. This is this person's recipe of the food, or this is. Of course, this person might say this is tasty, but maybe you may not think it's tasty. But of course, they're gonna say their dish is good. To them, they think it's a fact when it's really just a matter of taste preference.
There is a sense of preference that can be shown on any type of content, even if it's not food related. But for this, we will kind of stick with the food universe. Um, but there is a lot of subject, right? Things that I might despise might be something that you might flourish with. You might be one of the people who have to sprinkle ketchup on literally everything. And I mean literally everything.
Even if it's a dessert.
You know what? I'm not going to bash that. Because you know what? If someone does like it, good on them. They could do that. Um, if anything, I just stick with, the classic burgers, hot dogs, fries, and
Hmm.
I'll do it on my eggs. I'll put ketchup on eggs. Um,
Yeah, there's people who do that.
yeah, that's, of course, that is not really the point of this episode. This episode isn't to throw either one of us under the bus. It's just to talk about food content overall.
Mm,
So,
there is
um,
a certain genre of food content that might disgust some people depending on their
we'll
how they
get to
look at.
that. We will get to that. If I'm thinking of the same thing, I have to cut you off there because I'm not quite ready for that guy yet. Well, I
Oh.
say guy. I mean like that topic. If it's what I think you're thinking of, so
Like,
just like I did with the pros earlier, I'm kind of just gonna go through some of the ones that I thought would resonate a little bit more, right? This is, I would say, 5 or 6 of the most popular reasons why someone would not like this type of content. One, generally, they're just not interested in cooking whatsoever, so they just don't watch it because they don't like it. That's valid.
whoa, you don't watch it because you don't like it? That's
Uh,
crazy.
Imagine that. I only watch things I hate.
Yeah, that's what usually why I watch something.
Hey, I'll watch anything, man. Like, I'll find the value in it, even if I fall asleep. You know what? I needed a nap, and it helped me make myself nap. Right? No.
Hmm.
Um, so suffice it to say, some people just don't have that interest, right? Some people don't like looking at it in general. Some people do not like the fact that they have time constraints, right? Limited time and finding watching cooking content impractical because this show is talking about, hey, let's do this thing that will last 2 hours and it will be the best steak that you've ever had in your life, right?
Mm.
I don't have 2 hours. I want to do this in 10 minutes. I'm just going to do a burger instead. And they get jaded at the fact that, oh, well, I don't have that time. You're setting up unrealistic expectations for me. I don't have that time.
Well, it's like usually this is based on like the generals, based on generality or whatever it's called, generalization.
And that's true. Of course, there's something to say about how maybe you're on a higher elevation than someone else, or whatever, right? Um, there are different factors that way, which would make time constraints being a little bit of a variable. Um, but overall, there are some people who just will not do it because it takes too long to do this product. Or in terms of other types of products, and this is hard to, this is hard to drop if you have this habit, because genuinely I have this habit. Not with everything, but I guess with like some things. Therapy corner with Jake, right? No.
Yeah.
um not to, treat this as a therapeutic, uh I guess, what, a therapy session, right? Not to treat this as a therapy session, but um it can be a little concerning if after two, three times that you do something, it's not perfect. So why do it a fourth time if it wasn't great? If you even got worse, right? Um, I'm at the point where I'm comfortable enough with doing a cake or a pizza or whatever without a recipe. I'm comfortable with that. I make it how I like it. I know how I like it, and I could do it. But there was a time, I would say 2, 3 years ago, maybe even more, where I made pizzas and they were just terrible because I didn't know how to do it. I But pizza was something where I felt it was worth going through again and again and again and again to whittle it down to make it something I can actually enjoy. Who knows? Maybe there's a link in the description for my pizza pals, which I have not touched in 4 months.
Mm.
or whatever.
I
But
did. I think I told you how I want a pizza made for that Pizza
I
Pals.
did one for you, I
Yeah.
think. No, I did actually. I recorded all of it, I think. I just didn't edit yours. I think it's still just sitting here.
Hmm.
It's been sitting here for four
Oh,
months.
perfect.
I apologize, but I just haven't done it.
That's it. I'm gonna do a whole entire interview on you again.
Sometimes people think that the visuals are unappetizing. Some people just like the visual aspects of food preparation or presentation. There are some people out there who have, let's say, in a strong aversion for eggs, right? They don't like how gloopy it looks, right? They imagine grabbing it in their hand and they're like, oh, wow, it's so gloopy. I don't like it, right? That's fine, but grow up. No,
Hmm.
just kidding.
Yeah, but there's the. I think there's one, at least infomercial that's pretty popular with involving cooking, and there's this. What's the lady's name? Oh, Kathy Mitchell, who advertises the red copper pan, and there's always visuals on of like, oh, you cook burgers on this, or you get this gloopy eggs, like you mentioned. It's
I
like
mean,
sometimes,
yeah.
yeah, sometimes those. I mean, that's not really exactly a cooking show, but just it's a cooking product that's advertised. I guess some people may like the visuals, some may not.
Right. You did, okay. There are definitely connections, right? But this is trying to show the product, right?
Hmm.
That, like, infomercials like that are showing you what this knife can do, what this
The
I
right
don't know what
pan,
this pan could do, what versatile or not. And many of the times those infomercials don't even really use real food. Or if
probably.
they do, it's been like highly doctored. So it looks better on TV. But if you were to actually eat it, don't recommend it.
I wouldn't recommend it, but hey.
But like there is some similarities between like infomercial expectations, I guess we could call them, and food content expectations, right? Like some people will look at that and be like, "Oh, let's buy this pan, right?" Or, "Oh, let's buy this set of ingredients so then I could do the exact same thing that this chef on TV did." Um, yeah, that's more so trying to sell the product, not exactly the food itself. What is that noise?
Oh, it's just I'm just adjusting my um like earphones.
I was like trying to keep it together, but I'm like, what the frick is that? I was like, if I smiled, it would go away, and it didn't go away.
Okay, now we can move on.
Picking back up. Some people just lack the cooking skills, right? They
hmm
just feel inadequate or unskilled in the kitchen, which leads to their frustration. Much similarly to, them just not wanting to fail 100 times before they get it. They want they expect that they could do the top level chef moves in their first attempt, when in reality, that's not usually the case. Um,
Yeah.
I seriously will do a rapid fire of, you know, the of let's just say six more of these. Um, let's see. Sometimes with cooking content, there is an overemphasis on trends, right? Some people don't like the constant focus on food trends or viral challenges. There used to be a thing where a few years ago there was like a ramen thing. Everyone do your thing with ramen. Do ramen this, ramen that. And some people, maybe they don't even like ramen to begin with, and they're like, this trend is silly. Don't do this. It's all
Mm.
I see. Of course,
Oh, these Gen Z people like to do this.
well, it's not a generation thing. It's just a preference thing. It has nothing to do with, oh, these Gen Z people are doing this, because you could see an 80-year-old doing exactly the same thing.
But it's like it's a preference to them. Of course, they don't do it.
It's definitely a preference thing, right? Um, but some people really engage with the preference, let's just say. So sometimes the content can, and I'm using this word on purpose, can cater to them, right? Um,
Yeah.
Today, modern day, at least it started in 2020, and I still see videos of it today. There is this trend where people will use
Yeah.
sweet, colorful foods, and they will put it in a toilet, right? They build it in a toilet bowl, and it's like, oh, this looks delicious. This ice cream sundae or whatever. It used 3 gallons of ice cream. It used 4 gallons of chocolate syrup, a lot of sprinkles and whatever. And that's a trend that some people really love because you know what? It looks cool. Those are usually on the younger end.
hmm
Okay, I was waiting to hear you because I thought for a second you disconnected.
Oh no. But I
But
heard every single bit of it. But so is
cool.
this just them being like, oh, let me dump this and then flush it down the toilet for content?
Sometimes they do that, and sometimes it's usually like a very thin, fit, a stereotypically attractive is usually a woman who's putting all of this food in the garbage. Well, not the garbage, essentially in the garbage, but in the toilet, and then they'll take like a spoon and they'll be like, "This sounded delicious," and they have like millions of views because well, children they do watch colorful like that. And then, like I said before, some people watch things that they hate just because they want to hate something. So they also attribute to the view count and all of that shenanigans.
Because they
Which
don't like it. That means that you shouldn't either.
yeah, like demographics don't necessarily always align with age, right? I mean, there's a group of people who, let's say, really like, oh my God, I'm bleeding.
What? And don't put that in your dish, though.
I am
That's
gonna grab myself a tissue and hold it there for a little.
mm,
The show must go on. There is, yes, age can be a demographic, but there's obviously outliers to any certain thing. You think about you throw out any hobby, any topic, any show, whatever. Let's say
say
fish,
what about?
right? Fishing is something where it's you stereotypically think, oh well, it's a male's activity. It's generally an older crowd, but it's not always a male activity, and it's not always an older crowd activity. There are probably 5-year-old girls who are on the lake fishing something.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always the majority, is what I'm trying to say. And 80-year-olds, some of them do these content creation things, which the content creation thing kind of segues into the next thing that people don't like. Um, People criticize the fact that a lot of these content revolving around food is very wasteful, right? They shove a slab of, you know, meat that is 50, I don't know, 50 tons, right? They slap it on the cement and they season it. They do it super well. They do whatever, but at the end of the day, they only ate not even 1% of that 50 tons, right?
I
And
always
so they have
wonder
to throw it
that.
out. They have to throw it out, or they have to find a way for their crew to eat, or they find a way for a food kitchen or whatever. But not every one of them does that, so they'll throw it out. They purposely buy, 5 gallons of ice cream, all of that chocolate sauce, all those sprinkles, and they effectively just flush it away,
I
which is
always
wasteful.
wondered. I always wonder in these cooking shows, do these people actually eat the product they make,
A lot of the
or
times they a lot of the times they purposely do make less than, let's just say, a restaurant would make. Let's put Chopped on the chopping block for now, right? They make 3 dishes for the judges. They don't typically make 500 dishes, right? They typically just do enough for the 3 judges to get their idea. And sometimes that ends up being a little bit wasteful too, because, well, the judges aren't going to eat the full plate. They just eat enough to get an idea, right?
mm-hmm.
But so that's not so offensive when it comes to the waste, but a lot of it is like the mukbang culture, right?
Yep.
Like the I'm gonna build a sundae in my toilet challenge, or I'm gonna I don't
I'm gonna
know
scorf
do something.
this many Cheetos as much as I can until I turn into a Cheeto.
Not quite that, but
Or
I'm
or how
gonna
the
buy every single cookie that is in the snack aisle, and I am going to throw them all on the ground in front of homeless people and stomp all over them, right?
yeah.
That's really one of those insult to injuries because they're doing it in front of a group of people that would definitely appreciate that. Well, not
Yep.
the stomping aspect, but they would appreciate the food if you just, thought, hey, here, have some cookies. I got them at the store for
Oh,
you. And then people will actually like that content creator because they're being nice. Of course, then the backlash with that would be, well, you didn't have to film that you did that. You could have just been kind out of the kindness of your heart. Instead, you're making a video about it.
I definitely do see where they're coming from with that.
I mean, I see where they're coming from, but you know what? I would say more benefit is happening in their community than harm if they're recording it, right? It's still essentially the action is the same. It's just they're also pocketing a little bit of money from, well, maybe they're not pocketing money, but let's say they are monetizing their content, then maybe it monetizes it enough to the point where they could do this again, right? They could buy more sandwiches this time for the homeless communities. They could buy a lot of tents and whatnot. But okay. But there is definitely a stigma around the content creation aspect when it comes to waste because it's rampant. It's not just a it's not just something where people offline are throwing away things. That happens a lot too. But
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot of waste when it comes to food shows and stuff like that. Um, which I can't I can't say they are angry at a bad thing, right? Or no, I can't say that they're wasting their anger because it's is a large quantities of ingredients that contribute to food waste. It's not just a flake of rice or something. It's not just a little tiny bit. Waste is rampant, especially in America, where we
Hey
buy
boy.
big, but we don't eat the whole thing, right?
Yep, they buy probably like a thing of Chips Ahoy's and they eat it probably 6 months past the expiration date.
Well, they're still eating it. That's not what I'm talking about. Yeah,
Or they just
your Chips Ahoy that are 6 months past expiration, but they finally ate it. That's not what I'm talking about because they finally ate it. I'm saying the fact that they buy that Chips Ahoy, that same one that you said they were supposed to wait 6 months after. No, and they just eat one of them and they decide to throw the whole thing away. That's a whole waste of money. If you're only going to have one, you could have bought a smaller pack, or you could have
yeah,
just not had it at all because one isn't going to fill you up. One's
not real. That ain't gonna happen. One isn't gonna do it.
there is, and I'm moving on a little bit, there is a sense of environmental concerns. Some people feel uneasy about the environmental aspect of excessive food consumption and waste. Like, some people will put it in, let's just say, the woods that they might live near, or they might put it in the dumpster. They might feel uneasy about certain receptacles being used, right? Whether they throw it away, recycle it, compost it, it might not end up in the right place, and they feel concerned about that. There's also the aspect of the other side of the environmental concerns, which is, well, on the farming aspect, right? Um, all of these chicken wing challenges that you see out there, they started from chickens.
Yeah.
Unless if they're using byproduct or something, which some of them might be, but in general they are using a bunch of chickens. And with all of these chicken trends happening, let's just say that
Uh,
50% more people will be slaughtering more chickens, which they didn't need to, just because supply and demand acts like it's important in that way. Um,
yeah.
there, there are way more on the con side, which I I don't need to really get into a lot of the cons. There's just a lot that I thought of, but are there any cons of food content that you could think of?
I guess with the okay, let's get back to the whole food challenges. Some, I mean, depending on the product, I mean, maybe over excessive, it could probably either make you feel sick or something that's not made right. It could probably send you to the hospital. Okay, let's get to the whole chicken wing challenge with the whole senses. Too much of it, you can probably get an ulcer. You go to the hospital. It's, I don't know. It's just not like it's a lot of cholesterol, a lot of calories. I guess with these challenges, but then again, that's probably why a lot of these shows have disclaimers that these are done by trained professionals who have been in the whole food industry.
So with those challenges, like some people don't like the fact that all of these challenges are being filmed, right? They are showing people that it's okay to do these challenges. It's okay to eat 50 burgers in one sitting, but the viewer doesn't know that the person who's eating them is, a bodybuilder or something who the rest of the week only has like protein shakes and is okay because they do 3 hours a day at the gym, right? Or something.
Yeah, because one person could just see this as them like glamorizing like being unhealthy, but who knows? That one Joe Schmo is probably at the gym like 99% of the time, and then this 1% of the time, oh, he's showing you the double Big Mac.
Well, 50 double Big Macs in this demonstration, but yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is, of course, these you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Like these shows can be edited in a way that maybe they're eating more than they're supposed to, when maybe they didn't eat more than they're supposed, and maybe they ate as much as they intended to eat. Like
Yeah. Like the show might also be doing exactly what shows do and amplifying things, right? They might have literally only eaten one burger, but what you don't know is the other ones that are right in front of you are actually props. Maybe they're just plastic.
yeah, they're
And,
probably
and, and
little.
so it makes a younger child be like, "Oh, I saw someone eat 50 burgers. Let's do it."
Mm-mm. No, no,
And that's
no.
that's not really that great.
Yeah, got an early start for that.
The reasons that we went over, and honestly, there are a lot that we didn't go over, show concerns related to food content as a whole. Some people never think of the downsides, so I just felt it was fair to say. Now, it is once again time we bring this bad boy up. What is the bad boy, you think?
Taste trades.
It is once again time we bring up this bad boy. It's time for our recurring recipe trade segment, Taste Trades. This one was a bit of a different one overall, and technically it required us to have made two dishes. Being inspired by the cooking show Chopped, I had the idea of us both picking three ingredients the other would have to use in some way in their recipes. But the issue with that is one of the number one rules for taste trades is that the person giving the recipe has to have made the dish before. Thus, I came to the conclusion of making two dishes.
That's right. Except there's a slight other difference with that. The only recipes we wrote are just the three basket ingredients that must be in the dish. We, of course, will end up writing what we actually do, but that's afterwards. Jake, dumb it down a bit.
Person picks three ingredients. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Same person makes thing out of them. Uh-huh.
yeah.
Same person, then give ingredient list to the other person. Uh-huh. Okay, okay. The other person probably makes another thing with those ingredients. Both people write an actual recipe for both sets of ingredients.
So, in a way, this is a setup taste trades. Today, we'll only be trading a list of three ingredients to each other. In a future taste trades, we'll actually trade what we originally made out of the ingredients we sent the other.
So the explanations are unfortunately necessary. All right. So, Dom, the three ingredients that you decided to make something out of are
It's flour, sun-dried tomatoes, and also ground chicken.
the three ingredients I gave you are as follows. 1. Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal. 2. Pork cutlet. And 3. Fresh blueberries.
What am I gonna make with that?
Well, I'm just gonna be honest. I knocked mine out of the park. I really enjoyed the thing that I made. But that is for a later discussion. What what will come up after, I guess, 1 minute for you, but maybe a week for Dom and I, is to actually make something out of the ingredients that the other person told us. Um, I already have something in mind for sun-dried tomatoes, flour, and ground chicken. Do
Hmm.
you have something in mind for mine?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, blueberries, and pork cutlet. Hmm. The first two sound like they pair together, but the one of them doesn't. Okay. Well, uh, I have nothing yet, but I mean, I have some idea of what I might do with it, but I'm not sure how it's going to be executed.
And don't tell me what you did. At least not yet.
I'm not going to tell you what I did with mine, just like I'm not expecting you to tell me anything. But
I'm curious if we'll end up making something close to what I originally did. But anyway, as always, we'll be back with you in a few seconds. But in real life, it'll probably be like a week or two because of the snowfall that we had today. Jeez.
oh yeah, we did get snow.
Uh, catch you on the hopefully not snowy flip side. See you then.
Yeah. All right.
And we're back. Both of us have now written not one, but two recipes. The only one, however, we'll be showing and talking about today are the ones that both of us made using each other's three ingredients.
Another different thing we didn't mention until now is that we'll judge these differently than usual. Since we didn't send a recipe, we can't really rank a recipe. Makes sense, right? So instead, the person who sent the ingredient list will only be permitted to discuss what the other person did with their ingredients. With only three ingredients at our disposal, there's little chance we used the same ingredients in the same way. So, we'll only stick to stuff like, oh, creative way to use ingredient. I didn't think of that.
As a recap, Dom ended up giving me
sun-dried tomatoes, flour, and ground chicken. And Jake gave me
Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal, fresh blueberries, and pork cutlet.
walk me through what you did with my 3 ingredients.
Well, essentially, I did something that was Middle Eastern in inspiration, I guess. Essentially, I did a Middle Eastern thing using, pita bread, tzatziki sauce, some fresh parsley. Um, I combined your ground chicken and the sun-dried tomatoes. I did some breadcrumbs, flour, um, seasoned it with different things like coriander, cinnamon, some garlic, cumin, of course the salt and peppers. And so that kind of made like you kind of call it like a loaf, like a meatloaf-ish sort of thing. But I ended
Mm-hmm.
up making like these little patty sort of things.
So like
So
it's like Salisbury steak, sort of.
yeah, starting off actually like that, yeah. Um, so it was pretty much formed into the patty shape. Um, I coated it and fried it, with a little bit of additional flour. Um, fried it golden brown until both sides were cooked. I made sure to also finish it in the oven, but in my opinion, I don't think you really needed to finish it in the oven if you wanted it fresh out of the olive oil frying pan. But I
Mm.
ended up finishing it in the oven because I didn't think that the temperature was optimal. Plus, like whenever you're frying things in some oil, sometimes the outside might get perfectly done, but the inside is still underdone. So I just figured finish them off in the oven just to be a little bit safe
Not
because
to
it's
yeah.
chicken. So
Not to mention the scent will linger for a long time when you fry stuff.
that's accurate too, especially if you burn things, right? So I didn't
Yeah.
want to do that as much. But I just ended up serving it with pita bread and
Hmm.
coated it with a little bit of tzatziki sauce that I got from like the international aisle. Um,
Hmm. All right.
don't
All right. All
re-
right.
I don't remember the brand name, but I might be able to find the bottle in the recycling bin or something like that. But
Or
I'm not going to because I don't want to dig under all of the layers.
and not to mention, as of now, it is recycle. Well, tomorrow will be recycle day slash garbage day. So now you will never be looking for your bottle.
Yeah, I'm not looking, especially this late too. Then
Yeah.
the only other thing I did was garnished with a little bit of that parsley. And I had
Hmm.
fun and I enjoyed.
Was this a recipe that you not only you ate, but did you serve it to your family?
This one was, let's just say nobody else was adventurous enough with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because whenever it comes to like Middle Eastern like cuisine, it's usually
Mm-hmm.
served with different sauces and flavors that could be considered extreme for some people's palates.
Mm-hmm.
Like on one hand, like just because someone added cumin to something, that's enough for two people in this household to just say, no, I don't like it. Just because of the addition of tzatziki sauce, that's enough for two people to not like it. And
Mm-hmm.
need I say, the people who don't like the tzatziki sauce aren't the people who don't like the cumin. So essentially, it's just like one or two people in this household that would even look at that.
Mm.
Um,
So
long story
most
short, I ended up being the only one. So
sounds like they're more of like a meat and potatoes type people.
not that, it's just certain ingredients are just things that you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it is. If it's something where I took out an element and added it with something else, maybe it would be more acceptable. But um, just some things are more, I guess, outside of someone's preference. Um, so that's a
Okay.
shame whenever that happens, but it happens. So
All right. Well, hmm. I see. So, I mean, it sounds like quite a interesting like product you made. I mean, as long as you liked it, that's all that matters.
oh yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm curious about something. How about you? What did you do with my three ingredients?
Well, um, I just so here's what I did. I just made the pork chops normally like how I would make like chicken breast, just season it on one side with like my seasonings, cook it on that side, and then while it's cooked, I cooked it for 4 minutes on both sides.
What seasonings?
I used I used salt and pepper, and then I used onion powder and then paprika.
Nice, nice. Okay.
And then while I was cooking it on the one side, and then on the top, I seasoned it again for on that side. So I did that, and I don't feel the need to explain every detail because all I did was just cook the pork chops 4 minutes, both sides, total of 8 minutes. Then as the 4 minutes went up, I took out I took out the pork chops and put on a cutting board to let sit. And you're probably wondering, where does the cinnamon toast crunch and the blueberries come in? Well, I'll tell you what I did. I tried to make a milkshake out of that to kind of have
Oh,
like a pairing, but because I did not have my NutriBullet with me, it's at my dad's. I ended up using our little petite sized food processor to make a paste out of those two.
okay.
And then I mixed the milk with the paste, and okay, it was tasty at first, but as you keep drinking it, it's just like you could drink more of the liquid, and then it's just like it's just disgusting after a while. But you know what? It was it didn't the flavor wasn't bad at all. And then as for the pork chops, the seasonings paired well with it. Um,
Okay.
and of course, it was only enough for just me because I used the very tiny, thin pork cutlet with that.
Okay, yeah.
There's not much with it. Not much else to really say, although I had a few ideas upon, like in prior of making this. I was gonna try to do like a TV dinner thing where you have the vegetable. I was gonna make some Brussels sprouts, and then I was gonna have the cinnamon toast crunch and the blueberries mixed in with yogurt, where that's where your dessert is, and then the main attraction is the pork chop.
Right, okay, I see that. I
But
can see
then,
that.
but it's like, okay. But it's like, oh, why don't I make a drink out of that? And hey, it worked. It was a nice little dinner. Honestly, yeah, I would make this again maybe, and I should probably be asking you that too. Would you be making your dish again?
I would consider doing it again, yeah.
Yeah. Um. So I guess we what we could do is, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to have much else to say other than yeah, that's what I use your ingredients for, and yeah,
I can't I can't be upset at that. You did something with it.
yeah. Yeah. So I guess we don't have to explain what we did with our ingredients, right? as far as
That's not yet. That's not gonna happen yet.
I was just curious, but yeah. I guess we can continue on with what's going on with this rest of the episode.
Totally, yeah. These are different ways a content creator or show can make that balance. Because on one hand, it can be a beautiful sight to see a full dining table filled with various different dishes for a show. The reality is, a lot of that food doesn't get eaten to that extent anyway. And of course, there are places and people that have a great balance, but this is overall generalization of what could be done more effectively.
And I've always wondered, do these people really eat the food? And I think we mentioned this previously. It's like, well, that just seems like a waste of food.
So, I mean, yeah, a lot of the shows, and we did get into this, but granted, this was over a week, maybe even over 2 weeks or whatever ago. But um, a lot of shows, a lot of content does do waste, even if they're trying not to. But some places do actually try not to waste as much. They'll go as far as, oh, um, employees, here, take the ingredients that are there. They're not going bad, but they will be if they stay past a certain time, or content creators would be like, hey, for this challenge, I made 50 kilograms of macaroni and cheese, but clearly I can't eat it. So how about you, editor? How about, or even this? They'll bring it to a food kitchen. Be like, let's donate this macaroni and cheese. Have people actually getting a chance at it, right?
Hmm.
Um, but here are some ways that I think people can do better in terms of trying to reduce that waste down. Um, I think they could control the portions a little bit, where they could demonstrate and advocate for portion control, minimizing the excess food preparation. They could think
Hmm.
about their ingredients a little bit better and encouraging viewers to use ingredients thoughtfully too, to avoid excessive quantities. Like the thing that we'll do, right? We'll say, if you're going to be doing this, maybe divide the recipes that are in our taste trades in half, or something first. Divide it so then if you don't like it, it's not that much waste, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
you could do the thing that I like doing, which is, even if I don't like it, well, I'm forcing it down.
Mm.
Just eat it anyway.
Yep. And I'm sure whatever restaurants or or these, I'm sure they'll glad to make a challenge out of it.
Honestly, like there is a challenge out there. There is a challenge out there that is called the kitchen sink, right? It's essentially a lot of ice cream. It's done at the Contemporary Resort in Disney World, the Florida one, which, if you're a Disney person, you would know there is a difference between world and land and Tokyo. And but
Yep.
we don't need to get into the nitty gritty of Disney, which we could maybe in a different episode, because I certainly have freaking decades of knowledge and experience. But
Yep. Personally,
um,
yep. That may give me an idea for our next episode. I just
no, yeah, we
because
it might come up.
but um yes.
Not
Mm,
yet, though. It's not going to come up yet because this episode is all about flavorful perspectives. But the idea is, it's this resort in the contemporary resort. It is this restaurant or shack, whatever you want to call it, which is called Beaches and Cream. And I said beaches, not peaches, and not speeches and stream either, right? Call out to the other episode that we
Like,
did.
yeah, like going to the beach, swimming in the ocean. Is that what you
Yes,
said? Yes.
beaches and cream. It has this ice cream challenge where it's basically you put a lot of ice cream in it, you put some brownies, some cakes, some cookies, some drizzles of like everything. The whole you know the saying everything in the kitchen sink. Well, that takes this to a whole new level, right? Um, they use like a small kind of replica of a kitchen sink as like the bowl, which is pretty nifty, like just looking at a picture of it, you see a
Hmm.
sink with a bunch of ice cream and accoutrement
It's
uh,
like
with it.
it just sounds. I mean, it sounds good, but at the same time, it's like, oh my god, that's a whole lot of sugar.
Well, I mean, one, it's like a replica of a sink. It's not a full size one. If anything, it's maybe like
Oh, it's like a
I don't
small
know,
one.
an eighth of the size of a kitchen sink, like a real kitchen sink, but it's still a decent amount where we did end up ordering one of them one of the last times we went, and
So it's like one of
we
those.
ordered it for like, the family, like
So
the
it's
the
not.
five of us to kind of split, but there is a challenge, right? That's one of those challenges. If you could do something by yourself or with you and a partner or something, right? Then you get some sort of prize. I don't know if they do that anymore. I don't even know if it's still open. Shoot, because the last time we went there was before before the big old virus, right?
Well,
Um,
if it was not that long ago, why wouldn't they still do it? I mean, if this was like 2006, then okay, I could see why they don't do it anymore because that was a long time ago.
no, this would be like 17, 18, or 19, right?
So, I
Um,
mean,
one of those years, maybe 16. I don't know.
so it's
I
probably
don't know.
who knows if it's still there, but
But Disney aside, like imagine somebody who ordered that who couldn't eat it, who couldn't even make a good chunk, just ate a one scoop of the challenge and was like, "Oh, I'm done." And by restaurant law, they can't just serve it to another customer. At least, at least in front of people, right?
hmm
I'm sure fast food has maybe been like, "Oh, it went out to the wrong person. Oh, well, we'll give it to the right person, right?" Although technically you're not supposed to because of sanitation laws, right? Like
hmm
if it's given to you, it's either going in the trash
you're munching on it.
or you're forced to eat it, right? Like
Hmm
um but I'm sure a lot of restaurants could break the law, break the sanitation laws, but
hmm
um let's just say how you're supposed to do things with those sanitation laws is you're not allowed to save things like that. Once it's once it's on the table, no more takebacks.
hmm
If it's still in your waiter's tray, you could be like, I noticed this was wrong. Let me correct that for you. I think then they could do something like that, but I I don't know. Maybe some restaurants have a policy of once it leaves the kitchen, no more. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Regardless, this is also just to say that people can have more sustainable practices, like they could locally source and maybe even getting seasonal ingredients. Um,
hmm I mean that. I mean that sounds like hey, it's really sounds like there's quality to that, but at the same time, I'm sure there's a like a stamp that probably comes to costs. Like oh, we are certified by or we use organic ingredients. I'm sure you need some kind of. stamp of approval that probably comes to cost.
Well, if you went to like a farmer's market though, and I don't mean a farm to buy things, I mean like one of those farmers markets that's like outside the town civic center or something like that, maybe the town hall.
Hmm.
Um, every now and then on the weekends they do have them, but I never really keep up with that.
I don't
But
really ever keep up with them at all.
regardless, they do exist, and I don't think those sales people have to have like a kosher seal, because 9 times out of 10 they're just people who grew things in their lawn, like in their yard, in their possession. So I don't think they have to go through all these sticker things because they're not entering the stores. They're not entering the Walmarts and the Targets or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Um, but a lot of the time, whenever people do get their things at a farmer's market, it is a little bit on the higher side because you are paying for how fresh it is. You are paying for the quality. Usually, it is worth it. Um,
9 times out of
but
10.
yeah, most of the time, it definitely is worth it. Of course, sometimes it's not worth it, but most of the time it is. And with that hike up in payment, a lot of people get motivated to be like, oh, shoot, I should use this because this is the golden tomato that my neighbor Nancy grew. Nancy's kind. Let's let's eat this, right? People have a tendency to shop like that, even if it's nothing to do with food, right? People will be like, "Oh, this is the air conditioner that is highly recommended, even if it's $18,000 versus a $1,000 cheap one."
Hmm.
People will go for that $18,000 one if it means that, oh, it's not going to shut down. It's not going to be a problem. Um, but honestly, I'm fine with farmers markets like being a little bit on the pricier side because it is somebody actually growing those things. It's not something where, oh, just a big farm that tons of people touched these berries before using them in your cinnamon toast crunch smoothie, right?
Yeah.
Um, but this was just one, maybe two people that use their patio every August to September or whatever. Um, so they have the effort put in, and usually the ones that are homegrown. I know this because of I had a garden for like 3 or 4 years or something, but the ones that we had at home, way better, way
Hmm.
better,
Hmm.
because we're not, filling up a syringe with growth serum and modifying them in any way. It's just we grew what we grew.
Yeah. um, I mean, as long as you also have the like right climates and stuff, you don't have a lot of trees, then yeah, you can grow stuff.
I mean, even if you have trees, there are just different crops out there that produce, and I'm just going to say fruit because that's what you call something that comes off of a plant. Um,
Yeah.
but like there are things that flourish with a tons of shade. There are things that flourish with a diverse population of roots under the ground, right? It just depends on what you're looking for. It depends on what flavors you like, but you can do things in pots too. Um, doesn't have to be. Who cares if you have trees in there? Just do it on a raised bed. Do
I
it in
mean,
pots.
I remember a couple of years ago, I don't know if I don't know where it is now, but we had I had a UV light, like a light bulb, to attempt to grow like a plant. Like it was not working well.
The light bulb itself would be fine, but you need to sequester off an area. Let's say, let's say, put it on um that wood that wood workshop that you have.
Down, oh yeah,
Yeah, down there. You put it down there and you sequester it off with some like plastic wrap or something like that, so then the air can stay humid. Um, with
so
that growth light and like
I
you can do something well like there.
like saran wrap and so I don't have to water the plant. It just
Oh, you
stays.
have to, you still have to water it. Well,
But
I mean, it's up to you if you maybe underwatered it or overwatered it, but you do have to water
mhm.
it. Were you trying to grow plants without watering them?
No, 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 no.
But regardless, we're going on a big tangent here.
But
Something else that people can do is just looking up meal planning tips. Um, they can they can look at places to help minimize food waste and make efficient use of ingredients. I know I just said we were going on a garden tangent, but I go on another one. Um,
I mean,
you know that a lot of products that you don't use in the kitchen can go into a compost bin, right?
hmm
And can effectively be broken down into, let's just call it, bacterial growth
hmm
dirt. In simple terms, we could call it bacterial growth dirt. Because essentially you mix it up with regular dirt and potting soils, and that compost helps it because the bacteria that's in the compost
yeah.
makes things grow great.
Um,
Um, so if you did compost things and add that to your potting soil that you tried to grow things, you can have a good yield just with that. I mean, obviously you might want to move things out into the sun if like it is the summer and it's not going to be, you know, a hurricane or whatever, but you you could do great things there. You would be surprised. It's just if you don't know what you're doing, it's one of those it's one of those things where if you don't know what you're doing, you're probably going to kill your plants. But if you
yeah,
know a little bit of stuff, and if you know what tips to listen to, and what tips are mumbo jumbo that someone on the internet made up,
yeah,
then you could go decently far. Obviously, I'm not saying you're gonna get, you know, I don't know, the same levels of apples that an orchard would, but you could, after a while, have a good bit at home, right?
yeah.
Regardless, you could listen to different people with little planning tips, because some people are more, I guess, more professional when coming to this, because like homesteaders, they will use anything and everything for any purpose that they can, right? And
hmm
it's amazing that people are able to do this. Like they put water basins in their backyards to collect rainwater from their roof, right? So then they
Yes.
could water the lawn with that water that effectively is free after, a rainfall, or
I mean,
whatnot.
I'm sure it really saves your water bill if you try to collect water that way.
Yeah, and it it really does. Like it almost it almost pays for its. Oh, okay, I understand that. I understand that you wouldn't be really getting money back or whatever, but um, the investment in a water basin pays for itself as long as you get decent rainfall.
Mm-hmm.
Like you save the amount of money that you paid for the basin in a year or two, depending on rainfall. People can be more creative with their leftovers, where let's say you do have a bunch of Salisbury steaks, oh, you could maybe cut it up and turn it into a mincemeat pie, or you could maybe just put a slice of cheese on it and cover it in ketchup with a bun and make it just a regular burger or something. You could mash it up and you could put it on some tortilla chips and cover it with some guac and queso, right? You could have a nice little nacho with that. You could be creative with a bunch of the stuff that you have left over. Um,
Mm.
People
Um,
can have more educational narratives where you can incorporate different educational narratives about the impact of food waste on the environment and communities. Sometimes people need to see that, oh, all of this food is not being eaten by these people, which is resulting in maybe a smellier neighborhood because the trash cans are overflowing or whatever. Or maybe they need to see, like, oh, the dumpster has 50 kilograms of bananas in it that are still usable. Just because they have one patch of brown on the peel doesn't mean they're bad. Just means that they're getting overripe. Um, People can be involved in their communities and organizations that address food insecurity, um, showcasing ways to contribute positively. People can explore diverse culinary exploration
mm.
because maybe like you don't necessarily have to try the full recipe if you can limit the stuff that you do
Just
have. You could have a sixth of what it says.
like a
Divide the recipe up.
it's
You
like
could
a
do that.
glimpse of it, essentially.
Get a nice little glimpse. You could even do the thing that the food courts even do, where it's like make enough where it's like that could fit in a paper cup. And it's like you get an idea, but oh, you're not wasting a lot because you're making 1/20th of what it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I mean, yes, for going back to the leftovers, I could make probably some good things with involving. Like, let's see. Like, let's say I have any leftover carrots from Buffalo Wild Wings. Maybe maple glazed carrots. Yeah.
you very well can. Uh,
But
and you also could end up mincing them all up and just putting it in like a beef patty, right? You could
or
hide it. I'm not saying you're putting like the slices of carrots on a burger. I'm saying you're putting it inside the patty.
so it's like a carrot burger patty.
You're not even gonna really recognize it that easily. You just, especially if it's pulverized, right? Of course, you might be able to detect some chunks if you leave
Mhm.
it chunky, but if you really mince it and pulverize it, you're not gonna easily tell.
Mm.
And you're hiding vegetables that you can also have, right? Like, oh, I don't know how many times I've made doughs with different things in them. People can introduce interactive challenges that focus on efficient cooking, encouraging viewers to share their experiments. You can emphasize practicality to achieve different recipes that align with everyday lives.
Isn't it
You
like
could,
what is cooking websites where you can post your experience with this? Like kind of like Yelp reviews or any reviews.
you could set realistic expectations for viewers, emphasizes that not really every meal needs to be extravagant, right? Just because you're garnishing something with a, a bunch of chives doesn't mean you have to. That's usually the point of the optional thing, right?
Hmm.
I mean, you are a spice fiend. I get that. But technically,
Not everything
you
has to be.
don't have to put your Reaper sauce in every single thing. You could just that's an optional thing.
It is.
If you made something and you wanted me to make it, you could put that as an optional ingredient for me to still understand what it's supposed to taste like. Just not that it's, burning my tongue up, right?
Well, that's why it's like an after thing, right? But I'm not gonna. Not everything's gonna have it, unless I mean, if it's just for myself, then sure, I'm gonna add it as an ingredient. But
But if you are writing it down for, let's say, a recipe card, you might put that as an optional,
mhm,
especially if someone like straight up can't handle it.
that's why
Straight up
there's
might be allergic even. Like,
maybe.
I mean, it's one thing saying like if someone's not allergic and they can't handle something, it's one thing saying, "Oh, you can't handle it," but you can't call someone who's allergic a baby.
You're a baby. You can't handle this.
You have a peanut allergy. Ha,
Too
wuss.
bad. Too bad. Eat it.
Oh, it
Well,
tastes so great, but my tongue is swelling up. Oh,
mm.
that's just spicy. That just means that the peanuts are spicy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm sure some people are actually allergic to like the Carolina Reaper, maybe, but they mistake it for, oh, this is just how hot things are supposed to be.
That's just a cherry pepper. Don't worry about it. Eat it.
Uh, but some people can be more transparent about their cooking process. They can include any adjustments that they make during filming to minimize waste. Like some
Example.
people
Yeah.
would be able to use different ingredients, like you were saying, the carrots that are on the side of a wing or the broccoli that's
Like what?
in your lo mein or something, right? And then you could use it for different other things. And the people that are filming things might not have told you that, oh, we just got these carrots from this other thing. We didn't need to go to the store to buy 5 pounds of carrots when we have the right amount in this B Dubs container.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
by incorporating these elements, content creators can strike a balance that is both entertaining and responsible, fostering a positive and mindful cooking community.
And if I'm going to be honest, I mean, cooking, I mean, yeah, it's a science. Recipes are essentially just guides. You can follow them or you don't have to follow them. I mean, unless it's something that you're baking, you don't want to get sick from the eggs, then really you can cook it however you want.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that they're just guides, because and I'm not even just talking about like baking stuff. You're right about the baking stuff, right? Well, you
Even
don't want to get egg poisoning. You don't want to eat um,
like
raw
meats.
flour
Yeah.
either. But some things where it's like, oh, let's say let's say it's something to do with soup, right? You're making a soup. I wrote a soup recipe and sent it your way, and you decided that, oh, I'm not gonna cook it on medium heat. I'm gonna cook it on high. That
And then
means that maybe the stuff that you're cooking might be too soft. Maybe my soup was supposed to have some crunch to it. Or maybe you evaporated all the water that was in there
now it's
because
just
it was too high.
yeah, and then it just creates just a glob of vegetables and meat.
It's like some people, like I don't think it's accurate to say that recipes are just a guide.
Well,
You don't have to follow. You have
well,
to follow
no.
it mostly.
I can follow it mostly. If at the least I follow it mostly.
Like mostly is the way that things should be. I mean, like if something says follow it this way, but step four is season how you want, then you could do how you want because just season it, right? It's just season it how you want.
Hmm.
But if something is, oh, you're cooking this chicken breast in the oven, oh, I don't want to put it on for 350. I'm just going to put it on for 50 degrees.
Yeah, it's like
Well, that's
now it's like
probably not going to go great.
it's like you're essentially like doing like a slow roast or something.
Oh, but then they turn around and they're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna do the 50 degrees for only 5 minutes. That should be enough."
Perfect.
No, that's not enough.
Or how about they literally burn the chicken and like they cook it for 1 minute on 550?
I mean, all of these variables are possible. 9 times out of 10, when someone complains about a recipe or says that, oh, it's not right, it's that they physically didn't do the thing right. You can, in my opinion, and of course, opinions are something that everyone's entitled to. You can disagree with it, you could agree with it. But in my opinion, you don't have the right to complain about a recipe if you didn't follow it T for T.
Hmm. I
You
guess.
you, you can't say that, oh, this recipe you gave me sucked. Well, I decided to substitute this for this. I decided to do this. I didn't I didn't have a cast iron skillet, so I just did a Rubbermaid. No, you didn't do the same thing then.
I mean, I guess in all fairness, it's like, it also depends on how it's. Not that this is always the case, but it also depends on how the recipe was worded. But and most of the time, it's like you probably didn't follow it exactly how it was supposed to go. But there could always be
That's
that
fair.
slip up where, oh, this was worded the wrong way, so now I made a hockey puck instead of a filet mignon.
That's possible too. Like just off the top of my head, um, do you have any like physical like recipe cards? They look like index cards. They're
Um,
like very they're tiny. They're not printer paper. They're like
Handwritten.
they're what you would use for flashcards in
Um,
school, right?
we do have one family recipe of banana bread dating a couple decades ago. I would
Yeah,
say the
and that
80s.
would typically be written on like a recipe card, like
But
something that's I don't know, 4 inches by like 6 inches or something,
mm,
like a tiny index
it's
card.
a little smaller than like a 4x6 print.
Yeah, yeah, something, right? But um,
So
something that I don't necessarily like about those is that they're so small. They're small, so a lot of people have to make little shortcuts. And
mhm.
those shortcuts I dislike because those shortcuts can be misinterpreted. The same exact thing you were saying. One thing could say, put in greens. And it's like, well, Do you mean like collard greens? Do you mean like spinach or kale? Or do you mean like green peppers?
Like,
Do you mean like
you aren't like they're not
green food
specific.
dye?
Honestly,
Depending on how someone reads it, it would change the whole thing around.
yeah, that's also yep, that can happen.
But something I wanted to get into, and we could totally improvise this, but I think we should get into the impact of social media and I should say exploring the impact that social media has on shaping food trends.
Hmm.
I guess at the start of this, do you know of any current social media food trends that are out there right now?
As of right now, I mean, from this time period, I honestly don't know really anything off the top of my head. But however, I mean, this is kind of was a bit recent, but there was this lady that tried to make her own sauce using like beet like juice and beet like dragon fruit and like milk and stuff. But because it wasn't approved by the FDA, they had to do some investigating. I mean, I'm sure you probably know what I'm talking about here,
Yep,
right?
pig sauce.
And then the company Dave's Gourmet had to like actually make it the right way, or at least the FDA approved way. But that's another like food trend that I, at least the last one I've kind of caught up with. But unless you have something that's like right now going on today, that's the latest thing I remember.
So I would say that, I mean, food is something that's broad, right? It's not something where you could just straight up say, this is the in thing, because it's broad. There might be a certain sect of people who are like, I guess like you, putting spice in everything. This is the spicy year.
Wow.
Um, but a trend that I've seen, I mentioned it a little bit, actually a lot of bit earlier, but the idea of homesteading and growing your own things. That's,
Hmm.
for lack of better words, that's starting to grow in popularity because of the fact that, well, people are seeing the supermarket prices go up and up and up and up and up and up and up. So people are finally like, oh, let's grow. I
Hmm.
mean, if I could do, if I could grow something that I would be, you know, eating a lot and a lot and a lot, then they could turn into, oh, I'm actually saving a lot because of the fact that I'm not buying this at the store anymore.
I mean, if you can buy it once just to get the seed out of it, then that's awesome. If you can do that, but I don't know. I mean, it sure does. You should be able to buy it once and then not have to buy it again if you can grow it yourself.
I
But
mean, yeah.
oh, there's one thing that I do do notice within like these coming years is that some trends may be good, but there's others that are not so good. Let's just say they put like they make chicken and then they use NyQuil in it. There's also
Nightfall
those.
chicken is, I wouldn't say that's a food trend.
Well,
I
it's
would
not.
say that's a meme challenge, funny haha thing.
Well, it ain't haha funny when you something
Well,
happens to you.
of course, I say haha funny with, supreme irony there,
Yeah.
extreme sarcasm. But
Yeah. So there's,
like, just because it has a food in the name doesn't necessarily make it a food trend.
but other than that, it's like, I mean, yes, we've been seeing people do stupid things like that, but okay, yeah,
Like, I,
people are growing their own stuff. Um,
and people are owning their own livestock there. They're actually, able to collect the eggs every single morning that they
uh,
would use because the chickens are laying them.
mhm. Let's see. Yep. People are also saving money by not getting pre-made food like items. Well, hey, they can get the ingredients for much cheaper to make their own.
So something that I'm also going to say is a food trend that is going on right now. Admittedly, I hadn't heard of this one, but I guess it makes sense. Um, Here's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to ask you what you think this certain trend means, just based off the name. Um, and then I'm going to actually tell you what it is. So, what do you think girl dinner is?
Girl dinner. I don't know. Avocado toast with their macchiato latte. I don't know.
So you're going stereotypically what
I
you would expect a lady to get.
okay, that's more of a breakfast item, but I don't really. I honestly have no idea what. I mean, the stereotypical girl dinner would be, I guess.
I'm not asking you what a stereotypical girl dinner. I'm asking you what the trend girl dinner means.
Just I don't know things
The
that
trend, not what a girl's dinner would be.
I I guess they're bake. Oh my god, I don't know where they make a lot of
You
things from
don't. Okay,
scratch. Make a lot of
I'm,
stuff from scratch.
I'm gonna put you out of your misery here because you're like, I don't know this, I don't know that. Avocado toast.
I don't know, making more stuff from scratch.
I'm no, that's not it. Girl dinner is an eating style based on low effort and high satisfaction. The concept is nothing new, but the name is. When you're not in the mood to cook, but you want to nourish yourself, you have girl dinner, creating a personal mini buffet of the foods that you love. More than a snack plate, but less than a meal. A girl dinner originated last year when a TikToker, Olivia Mayer, responded to a video in which the speaker described the typical meal of peasants, bread and cheese, as undesirable. Mayer responded with, "But that's my dinner," and posted her own video dubbing her simple but satisfying repast as the girl dinner. This glorified snacking trend is going to stick around well into 2024.
So it's like it's a bridge between like a full meal and a snack.
I mean, I would say that it's like
Or
if if you liked something like, you know, crackers and cheese and a bit of pickles on the side, just have enough to fill you up. But you know, crackers and cheese and pickles wouldn't necessarily be considered a dinner.
it's
Well,
not
it'll be
it's
considered a girl dinner if you
it's
like that stuff, right?
yeah, well, it's still a step of a it's still a step up of a bag of Cheetos,
I
right?
mean, I would argue that a bag of Cheetos could count as a girl dinner as long as it's, satisfying you.
Sure, sure,
It's
yeah.
it, this is not saying that, oh, it's healthy, oh, it's unhealthy. It's just that it's satisfying you enough
Mm-hmm.
without, having to crust a chicken, without having to slice it and put grilled asparagus with the nice burgundy butter sauce. No, this is just a bunch of your snacks that you enjoy, but eat enough of them that it fills you up.
All right, all right, all right.
That's essentially what a girl dinner is,
I
which I
see.
guess could be things that are baked by you, which could be avocado toast and maybe a macchiato. But
I mean, it's still a food item that, yeah, that I mean is I mean if guess if you count the avocado being healthy, I mean, it's still kind of a dinnerish snack thing.
And honestly, it's I kind of do agree with that premise of just because you're used to the world telling you that dinners are supposed to be this with this and this and this, that's not necessarily true. The same sort of thing as, oh, a breakfast doesn't have to be a breakfast food. You can have spaghetti for breakfast,
It's really
but
could be anything you want.
it it can be.
I mean, well, I mean, yeah, anything can be a breakfast as long as there's like enough nutrition. Because like definitely, if you haven't eaten in 8 hours since you slept,
I
so
wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't say it needs nutrition. I mean, okay, if we're going to go based off of a healthy diet, it should have nutrition, but
but
I
if
would
you're
just say the satisfaction is what matters most. I wouldn't
mm,
say that, oh, it has to be nutritious because, hey, a sleeve of Oreos, it's satisfying.
so like,
It's not necessarily nutritious,
I
but
mean, no, like I'm not gonna like okay, I can wake up, get a open up the box of the store baked cookies and have that as a breakfast.
I think you can. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, it's not the healthy thing,
No,
but
no, it's not. But
it's satisfying enough where you're fine with it. You,
yeah,
you know the I guess the trope of going to grandma's house and having like ice cream for breakfast.
mm-hmm.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Grandmas know their shit, man. Until they don't because of Alzheimer's, but we don't
But
get into that.
yeah, but let's see what else is like. Okay, I could probably even have what a bag of Cheetos for lunch.
And you can.
I
I would
mean,
be okay with that. But like for me, I've definitely had meals entirely where they were like two granola bars, one I don't know, one cheese stick, a
I've had.
swig of milk, and that was like my meal.
I mean, I've I've done like I've had like there's like bars for breakfast. Also, I there's these I guess breakfast drinks that are supposed to be good. I mean, really, it's still a breakfast. I mean, it's not like eggs and toast, but it's still good. But
Right.
yeah. But yes, that's the point aside there.
How about this question? What do you want to see as a food trend? Whether it takes a year, whether it takes 10 years, whether it takes a millennia. What
Also,
types of trends do you want more people to do?
I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, before I get to answer that question, I'm not gonna say spicy stuff because we've already kind of seen that within the past couple of years, as we've gotten. Obviously, we've had more stores also have these limited edition spicy this, spicy that. Like Dunkin' Donuts had their ghost pepper donut, and McDonald's has their spicy chicken nuggets. So I'm not even gonna get into that. But what do I want to see in the future?
Not even that you want to see it. I mean, you could do one that you want to see, but one that you think is likely to happen.
Oh my gosh.
Mr.
I
Fast Food over here doesn't know trends that are gonna come up.
well, now that I was literally just thinking about, it's like, okay, what? I guess make your own version of your favorite fast food product. I mean, I've already. oh, I mean, then you kind of. I was thinking about it, but then you literally said it. Um, okay, if you want to make your own version, like literally make homemade versions of like McDonald's fries. which I've seen YouTube videos of somebody making their own version of it. Um, I've seen people try to make their own take on the like Taco Bell items. And speaking of, there's this one. What is this? I do recommend one YouTube channel that does a lot of these versions of their like fast food items. And
Joshua Weissman.
sure, him, and there's also this one other guy named Cowboy Kent Rollins. He's done literally like homemade even snacks that you buy at the store, homemade even restaurant items, literally just homemade like any mainstream product.
I mean, not to mention, if everyone does a homemade thing, it would kind of force the people who are making these store brands to be like, hey, we're not gonna pay you shit anymore because we're able to make the thing.
I
So,
guess
so that maybe the
this
people
isn't.
who are making big bank currently would turn into, oh, nobody's buying our stuff. Let's sell it for cheap now.
I mean, this is not to replace those said items, but it's just an idea of what somebody could do.
You know what? I think it
The
should
Mick,
be a replacement. I think everybody should make what they want. So then
um,
we could say, suck at capitalism.
or
We're making the thing instead of
or
you.
or suck at McDonald's. We're making our own McRib instead of waiting another year for it.
I've never had that, and I don't think I would ever have it.
You're not missing out. It just tastes like a barbecue hot dog with pickles and onions on it. You're not missing out on it.
I
But
never really thought I was, but that solidifies it. If it tastes like a hot dog, I'm just gonna have a freaking hot dog.
yes, I would recommend that. But yeah, is there anything else that you have on
I
here?
thought you were gonna ask me about what I would.
Well, then again, sure. I kind of did in a way, but maybe not in the way it was worded. Is there anything else that you have on your mind, or is there a food trend that you want to see?
A trend that I think I would like to see, and I think I said this before, not in this episode, but definitely before on an episode, is I would like to see like, more bugs and more, like, just different things. I would like us to have more of a fermentation culture,
Hmm.
but I would like, just, I mean, chances are it's not going to happen with the way that a lot of countries see each other.
I
But I
mean,
would like way more things to be like shared with everybody.
I
I would
guess.
like the ability to go to, I don't know, some Middle Eastern country, Turkey, and just get, oh, I could have a nice karage
Mhm.
in Turkey, which is likely not going to happen. Maybe.
I mean, it's also one of those things like, okay, you can ferment like a fermented item. I mean, in terms of like on a like a scale, like a home scale, or like on a commercial scale, or
I mean, like, I would like to see more cuisines in every country, not just something where it's like, oh,
exclusive to
this
there.
is Italian food. You can only go to Italy for the top quality.
Yep.
No, I want to be able to go to, I don't know, freaking China for a great Italian meal if I wanted to.
So I see. So let's see. I want to go to um I want to go to UK just to get an American like Five Guys burger, or
Like, why not?
I want to go to Italy to get some buffalo wings.
I
I mean,
mean, I
uh,
mean, it's one of those. Why not? What would be the harm in having these different cuisines throughout the world.
I
I
I mean,
mean,
I would see
I
why not.
why wouldn't why would you say that?
I say why not? Nothing's what's stopping Italy from making buffalo wings. I mean, I guess in Buffalo, New York, they already made them. Or like we have Americanized versions of Chinese food. What are the,
Right.
I mean, they could probably make. I mean, they don't have to make it the same way we make it. Just like how we don't make Chinese food the same way they do in China. Like,
Have you ever seen, and I don't know if I'm going to cut this out, but maybe I might keep this part in, but have you seen what different countries think we eat?
I mean, I've like bits and pieces that yes.
America is such a melting pot of cultures that, and countries that I'm not really sure what food I'd consider American outside of maybe some barbecue. Um, it seems like most comments agree that they view burgers, barbecue, fried chicken, pancakes, cereal, and oddly enough, easy cheese are American USA foods. You know, easy cheese, it's the stuff that comes in a
Yeah,
can. Squirt it, right?
I'm
Yeah.
surprised. I'm surprised they're also not mentioning junk food because they know we also have the stereotype of us being like just eating a bunch of junk food and we're all obese. Because
I
some
mean, I wouldn't say that,
maybe 20
I
years
wouldn't,
ago.
I wouldn't say that we're the only, like, we're known for it though.
I mean, we're known for it, but yeah, I mean,
I said I don't think we would be known for it because I would say that every country, I guess every first world country has its fair share of sweets. You can get fat in Italy. You can get fat in Japan. You could get fat in a lot of these places. I don't think obesity is a guideline on what foods are American or not.
I don't know, but I guess in terms of cuisine, barbecues, burgers, just outdoory items. So is Australia. I mean, they're known for their Barbies on the beach, like we mentioned in a like the cuisine episode.
Look at this one. Actually, you're not able to look at it, but I'm looking at some. I'll explain it. Someone tweeted, um, my sister sent a picture from the American food that's in quotation section in the grocery store in Switzerland, and it's called the Pizza Burger hot dog. Okay, in white text it says Pizza Burger, like as one word. It's Pizzburger, right?
Mm.
The original, our original Pizza Burger hot dog.
Mm.
Um, it looks like I don't even know what it looks like. It's That's interesting. There's an American section in other countries. Um, the top shelf is like Pop Tarts, some cereals. I could see some like Bush's beans, some like A1 sauces. I can see some marshmallow fluff here and peanut butter. Um, bunch of candies too, bunch of stuff like that. Um, but yeah, barbecue sauce and like dry rubs.
Mm.
But I wouldn't say that that's totally American cuisine though. I
Mm.
wouldn't say that. I would say that they hit similar, I guess, qualifications, but I wouldn't say that that's what is ours. I would even go as far as to saying Chinese food that you might get from just a regular,
To take
just
out.
a Chinese place takeout, right? I would say that that is. I wouldn't say that's Chinese. I would say it's
No,
Chinese inspired, maybe, but
they're Americanized.
it's Americanized, which the root of that is America.
Yes,
So
or
wouldn't that be American cuisine?
my that kind of raises another question. Like, let's what is UK's like version of a Chinese restaurant would be like e- English Chinese food versus Americanized Chinese food? I'm
Oh
curious.
God, we could definitely dive into this in a possibly other episode, but we don't want to do a lot of food things.
But
We've been doing a lot of food things. I'm gonna make this a challenge for us. No food things, at least until after like I don't know, 5 more episodes.
we'll see about that. But hopefully we'll try to beat that challenge.
Maybe. I mean, who knows? But with that being said, this episode is going long enough. So I would like to say thank you for listening to this episode of the DomJake podcast. If you are not yet done so, we would appreciate a nice little subscription, nice ring-a-ling of the notification bell. Share your thoughts and comments. Share the link with other people too. Um, Give us a little thumbs up if you liked our smooth, silky. Let's face it, none of our voices are smooth and silky.
Mm.
But thank you for listening. Have a great one. Peace
Toodles.
out.